Well, gotta check that first. So, hi everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Lights Camera Rant. Looks like we got some bad news for the Spider-Verse 3 movie that's meant to come out next year. We got some bad news about Jonathan Majors. We got some big news about Superman Legacy, and we've also got some leaks about a remaster that I cannot wait for. But before we get all into that, you guys know exactly what comes up first.
Welcome to the Lights, Camera, Rant podcast. Your source for the latest on movies, TV shows, and video games. Get ready for ranting, raving, and reviewing. Here is your host, Lee.
I never get tired of that. I know I said it every week, but I never get tired of it. As I said, welcome back, everybody. And you know, it's been, I think, about a good 6 to 7 weeks since the last time it was just a me episode, which please, if you haven't already, please go check our last few episodes. We've had Don't Be a Hero podcast. We've had Two Sides of the Story. We've had Comic Book Boys. We've had Why So Sidious. It's been an insane few weeks. And that's not just all. We've got so many more guests lined up that I can't wait to show you. But yeah, it's been quite interesting for you. And look, not to mention, for the very first time, currently right now, not only are we streaming on YouTube and streaming on Facebook, we're streaming for the very first time on Kick. Kick seems to be getting a lot of traction lately between the Twitch community, which we've seen that with the recent news, with everything that's happening with Twitch, not looking good. It might be on a downward spiral. But everyone I've spoken to is Kick is the place to be. And not to mention, if you want to be affiliated and start making money, Kick is definitely a good way to start that growth pattern for you. But that's what we do. So let's see how we go. But also in the past week, we're going to go all about the news that's happened the past week. The one little tidbit I do want to say that I'm really excited for is last week we entered ourselves into the Australian Podcast Awards for 2023. Now, I missed my chance last year, unfortunately. Missed my chance because I was a little bit late. I was like, oh, there's an award ceremony. Oh, and it's already dates and times already done. Shit. I was like, oh well, I'll try again next year. So this year I made sure that I was going to enter without a shadow of a doubt, which I have been. We've entered into one category, which those awards will be happening. I think it's November. So fingers crossed. But for anyone who is a podcaster, I highly recommend that you guys definitely go to these awards. Yes, was it a little bit pricier than I expected? $180. Was that a little bit pricier than I expected? But hey, you only enter these things once. What's the worst that could happen? The best thing is you win an award. So fingers crossed for us. But that's what we've done. So yeah, we've been quite busy. Yeah, I've just been quite busy between the awards. Not to mention, we crossed the 200,000 views on YouTube, which thank you very much to all of you who tune in every single week on the YouTube platform. Very grateful for that. We crossed that. We crossed 2,000 followers on Instagram. Just all up from here. So what we're going to do is we're going to do the latest news, and then we're going to get our reviews, which we're going to be reviewing the latest episode of Marvel's Secret Invasion, and we're going to be looking at Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny, the 5th outing for the Indiana Jones and the swan song that is for Harrison Ford as a titular character. So as I mentioned at the very beginning of this episode, is we've got some bad news about Across the Spider-Verse. So what's really sucks is apparently a news report has come out that apparently about 100 of employees that are working on Across the Spider-Verse left the project due to terrible working conditions. That's look, yeah, it's hard with these stories. These stories seem to become more common as we've seen with The Flash with the terrible, terrible CGI, and what's happened with Marvel. Now, it does really suck if it is indeed the case, because what has come out is a fantastic film. The film is great. All the reviews for it are great. My review for it I did a couple of weeks ago with the Why So Serious was we both loved it. We can't wait for the next one, which is Beyond the Spider-Verse, which is meant to be coming out in March next year. Unfortunately, what we've seen from the latest news report is that most likely will not happen at that date. Look, I do hope it happens at that date, but at this stage, it's looking that it could be pushed back. So we might see it later in the year, probably the October, November. But I really hope that's not the case. But it's hard because you see these reports and you're like, you've done such a great job, but this is what's happened. I'm like, oh, now I can't feel bad. But you tell me, are you excited for the Beyond the Spider-Verse, or are you happy for them just to take as long as they need and to make this, to wrap off this trilogy? Now, because the second one was so good, the expectations for this is so high, it's not even funny. The first one, great. Sorry, let me rephrase that. First one, good. Second one, great. How are they going to top this? That was my biggest question after watching Across the Spider-Verse. Like, how do you top this? Who are you going to pop up? All the cameos were great. All the acting was great. How are you going to wrap up everything so nicely and crisp? Everyone's going to be happy about it. That's going to be a bit of a struggle. But at this stage, with this latest news, it is not looking good for Beyond the Spider-Verse to hit its March release date. But we're going to hang on for that. Another really good happy news is that we saw a news report that Chadwick Boseman will be getting his Hollywood Walk of Fame. He'll be making, when they do the ceremony later this year, he will be getting his Walk of Fame, which is well deserved for him. Look, it's still a tragic passing with Chadwick Boseman, and he will be one of the very big what ifs. You know, what happens if he stayed? What happened if he's still alive? What would happen with Black Panther 2? What would happen with the MCU moving forward? There is so many questions. It's very similar to Heath Ledger. Just a massive what if he was still alive, which is the really hard part. So all our condolences to his family. This is great news. It couldn't happen to a better person. So I'm really glad that he's getting his star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame. Yeah, I said it right. Also, in production is Mortal Kombat 2 is now started shooting. Mortal Kombat we got in 2021. We got the Mortal Kombat movie, the reboot, which was spectacular. Loved it. Yes, could the CGI been a little bit better, but can't complain. The CGI could have been a little bit better. Some of the action scenes were a little bit jarring, but overall, this was a great reboot of Mortal Kombat from the Mortal Kombat 1 and 2 that we saw in the late 90s. It has some of the most cringe-worthy acting performances you will ever see. Trust me, please go watch those films. You know exactly what I mean. But they've started shooting. There will be new characters popping up from the franchise. So I'm guessing if they've started shooting now, I'd say late 2023. Late 2024. We should see this film at least this time round. We won't be in a global pandemic, so we're good to go see this movie in theaters. Because when this movie came out, my state in Australia is that we were in heavy lockdown. We could not go to the movies, so this was one of those movies that got split up between going to the theater and you could buy it on a streaming service, same day release, which we got to watch it, which was really, really good. And I can't wait for the sequel. But yeah, say late 2024 for that one. Also, what we've got our official brand new Superman and brand new Lois Lane for the upcoming James Gunn written and directed Superman Legacy that is coming in July 2025. It's funny because when this got announced, I was like, oh, that's cool. That's right. I'm like, oh, hang on. That's right. This is still really far away. Like, this is very far away. 2025. I can't even, off the top of my head, I can't remember what is coming out next year with DC. Because I know we're getting Aquaman. I know we're getting, no, even the Batman got pushed back to 2025. Yeah, because we got Flash, we got Blue Beetle, we've got Aquaman 2, all coming this year. So, yeah, I'm not 100% sure on what DC film is coming out next year because everything is pretty much slated for 2025, which a big part of this is because of the writer's strike, which is currently still going on as I'm recording this, which unfortunately this time in a year's time, TV, movies, there will be a lull and delay of everything where we see not only delays in shows, which a lot have already been announced, but another thing will be probably quality of the show. You know, there are shows previous when the last writer's strike on, you can see that, you know, for example, season 1, 2, killer, 3, dull, terrible writing, and then 4, right back up. And you can go, yep, that is where the last writer's strike was. So unfortunately, we as the consumers, as viewers, we must anticipate that is going to happen moving forward, which sucks. But, you know, what you can do as a consumer, what can you do? But the writers need to be paid the right amount of money. They need to be compensated for what they're doing, especially with the rise of AI. Like, don't get me wrong, AI, it is a blessing of a thing when you try and write emails and try and come up with content ideas. Like for AI, like ChatGPT for a podcaster, and I'll go over a little side point, is fantastic for a podcaster or any content creator for that matter. If you're trying to think of shorts, reels, YouTube videos, just episodes around particular thing, ChatGPT is fantastic. And also, apparently, there's also a new one that's going to be coming, I think, from Google. That's on the horizon as well. That is meant to be bigger, better than ChatGPT, which we'll see as that unfolds, really. But you know, for example, like I found one for anyone who's listening to this episode that's a content creator that does videos. I recommend OPUS, OPUS. This program that I found, goes through a video and creates shorts from it for you, or gives you templates to play around with, which is fantastic. And it's, you know, it's interesting when you look at it and you go, wow, there is so many tools out there. Like I just found one this morning that was called Tube Spanner, and then there's another one. Like there's just so much to help you grow and move forward. But pulling back a lot. Yeah, sorry. Superman Legacy, we've got a brand new Superman and we've got a brand new Lois Lane. Now, Superman is played by David Crossland. I probably butchered his last name. I did the same thing when I made a reel for it earlier this week. And Rachel Brosnan. As you can see, if you're watching the live stream, you can see their photos right there. Now, so far, all the feedback I have seen for everyone across the internet versus everyone's very happy with this casting list. My only gripe about it is just the age. Now, I think when Superman Legacy comes out, I think Dave will be 35, 34, which when Henry Cavill took over the role and when Man of Steel, he was younger. So it's just, you know, for me, I probably, depending on where it is, I probably would get a little bit younger. However, Superman Legacy is meant to be the Batman version of year one. So this isn't going to be an origin story. This isn't going to be, you know, he fell from Earth, a Kansas boy, he's going to grow up to be blah, blah. Here's the message, man of hope, blah, blah, blah. No, so this is meant, and him, he's Superman, he's come to the world, he's been saving people for a whole year, and it's going to be him adjusting to, what's the legacy? Well, what's the legacy of Superman he wants to be, still fitting into this new role, which don't forget, we're also getting Crypto the dog will also be appearing in the film. Now, obviously, now that casting's done. Now, a big thing that someone did ask James Gunn was when are we going to do the cast listing for Batman Brave and the Bold, which James Gunn said that is even further away for a long time. So I would say the casting list for Batman the Brave and the Bold will not be happening until this time next year. And right now there is going to be so much speculation. Like Jason Ackles, they want him to be the Batman, depending on the age. Not to mention, I think when the Brave and the Bold comes out, it might be the same year that we get the Batman. So again, we'll get another year with 2 Batmen. And technically this year we got 4 Batman, 1 cameo and 2 cameos and Ben Affleck. And there was a 4 Batman. Michael Keaton, sorry, but how could I forget that? So we might get another year with both 2 Batman, because remember, the Batman 2 is coming out, still being directed by Matt Reeves. Rob Pattinson still returning, but we will be getting the, I think it's a sequel. It's a sequel between the 2. We're getting the Penguin show on the HBO Max that is almost a prelude to the Batman, because we will see how the Penguin rises to fame and becomes this massive mob boss leader that we have seen in the comics. So we will see that. So it's almost a prelude, prequel, if you will, to the Batman, which in recent news, pretty much everybody's returning. Cast listing, photographer, writers, they're all coming back for the film, which I'm really excited for. It's Superman Legacy. I'm quite curious to know how this is going to be shaping up. And now, the one big question, which I saw someone tweet, and I thought this was really interesting. So Superman 1 with Christopher Reeves. John Williams did the score. It is fantastic. It's iconic. That theme is utterly iconic throughout time, and it always will be. Now, fast forward, Man of Steel, Hans Zimmer creates Flight, again, an iconic Superman theme, which has been played on so many things, from videos, shorts, and like this is a fantastic theme. So James Gunn, depending on who the composer is going to have a little bit of an uphill battle of a theme for Superman Legacy. Yes, I don't think we had a major theme for Superman Returns. However, that's a one-off. Superman Legacy, this is going to be, Superman moving forward into this massive universe, which I have no doubt we will get Superman Legacy 1, 2, and 3. This time, unlike Man of Steel, dropping the ball. Thanks, WB. We'll see it coming. So the big thing I would be looking into this is the theme. And obviously, the next big thing is everyone's going to be looking at is the suit. How is Superman going to look? And how's Krypto going to look? How's that all going to fare? So that's the next big bit moving forward. But now that we have the cast list, there is no mention of Lex Luthor at this stage. But we will be, as everything starts gearing up, I guess in the next news will be Lex Luthor. Until then, it will be they will start shooting mid to early next year. If it's July, right? Yeah, I say early next year they'll start shooting. So I'm expecting we will see next about Lex Luthor and then nothing about Suit until about further on. But that is your new Superman, and that's your new Lois Lane. Tell me what you think. Do you like this casting list, or do you think they should have gone younger? Now, this is the little leak that I'm really excited for. Now, Red Dead Redemption. Now, the first game is iconic. It's a great game and still has one of the saddest endings in a video game. Anyone who's played this game tells you that it has a very sad ending. And it's a terrible, because, spoiler, it's one of those endings where the game tricks you thinking, oh no, you can survive. You can save the day. Wrong. You doesn't matter how many times you tried, which I've done a lot of trying, you can't win. And it's just such a sad ending. It's just gut wrenching. But it's by Rockstar, and it's got a great cult following. And then we got the fantastic sequel with this Red Dead Redemption 2, which just amped up everything, and it perfectly leads into Red Dead Redemption. If you play the story of these two games back to back, it is a stunning story. The acting, everything that happens is great. I would love to see a Red Dead Redemption Amazon TV show. I would love to see that. Amazon money, but I would also accept a movie. I feel like Red Dead Redemption is one of those perfectly crafted stories that you could do so well. Now, the reason I'm talking about this is that we did get, according to South Korea's gaming board to do all the ratings, apparently they let it leak that they have rated a new Red Dead Redemption, which, of course, come in all leaks and all the spoilers, the fact that we'll be in a remaster. I hope it is just a remaster, not a remake, because we saw how the Grand Theft Auto Definitive Trilogy came out. Everyone disliked it. It was subpar. Like, I did play it. I probably played each game for an hour each. Most Vice City, because that's one of my favorites, but it just seemed like a shell. Like, it didn't have the same vibes, maybe because I'm older. But if this is going to be a remake, I hope, which I have no doubt Rockstar have listened to the feedback and they give this a little bit more of a juice, a little bit more of a remake than what we got previously. So fingers crossed. And I know there's so many people out there that are so excited for this game. I think a next-gen remake of this game would look beautiful, especially if they, top it off together with both this. You could just play this and then go straight into, go into Red Dead Redemption 2 and then go straight into this, and that perfectly seamless would be fantastic. But this is just a leak. There's no official announcement for Rockstar. There's no official announcement of anything. This is just the fact that Red Dead Redemption has been re-rated. So my fingers crossed is that we will see this at the end of this year. But do you want to see Red Dead Redemption, or do you think, nah, let me just download off the Xbox store and just play the original? That let my childhood, even though I play as a child, let my my memories stay. Another game that's coming out in October. So City Skylines. City Skylines is basically the this generation, if you will, this generation of SimCity. So for any city building fans, which that's me, this game, City Skylines 2, is coming in October the 24th. I was about to say 30th, but it's 24th. So for any city building fans, City Skylines 2 got announced early this year with no release date. However, now we've got the official release date, and one of the best things ever is that this game released on PC, Xbox, and PlayStation all at the same time, no delay. This first City Skylines is a great game. They did some fantastic expansion packs to it. I loved it. I think early this year, they released the HD version, so you could even go even bigger on the PlayStation at risk of memory due to the power of the PlayStation. But City Skylines, the trailer looks fantastic. Now, it's just a brief trailer. And I really am looking forward to this game. Spiritual successor, if you will, or just this generation's the SimCity, which there's probably a few people who listen to this podcast that doesn't know what SimCity is, and it makes me feel old as shit. But it is meant to be the premier city building game, which, look, I know it's a lot of people, it's different. I can't play this type of game on PlayStation or Xbox because of the controls. I've just come so used to it now, and this is it's fantastic. I've sunk so many hours into it, just a slight, and the controls are very flowy, so it's jarring at all. It's the same thing. Well, I always think about how like Halo Wars, PC and Xbox, people were a little bit worried about that because the type of game it is, an RTS. But no, this City Skylines, fantastic. So this one is coming up, and I can't wait to see what's going to come up next for this particular game. Next, so what was also going to be coming is we've unfortunately got some terrible news about Jonathan Majors. This man is having a rough trot, really rough trot. So, look, innocent to proven guilty, quoting Falcon, which I can't, Anthony Mackie, who came forward about it and said, innocent to proven guilty. Unfortunately, there has been another news report that this charges apparently are a decade long. Unfortunately, that's more is coming out about Jonathan Majors, which it's hard because you look at from outside looking in, and you go, shit, what was Marvel to do? What if it was all true? Then he should be trialed, as everyone knows. But I agree with Anthony Mackie, isn't proven guilty, especially with right now. Like, I'm not saying what if he did or didn't, but cancer. My best example is James Gunn. James Gunn got fired from Disney because someone went deep diving into his tweets to find some old tweets that he said years ago, like deep diving into it, and he got fired from it. Cancel culture. Like, people will find anything. When you're in the limelight, people just want to bring you down. Which is sad. But truth or not truth, we'll see what happens. But Jonathan Majors' court case is later this year. I think it's in October. So we will get Loki season 2 before that, where Jonathan Majors is meant to make his next return. To me personally, I just hope trial, whatever comes to light, good or bad. But unfortunately, right now, the information on Jonathan Majors is stacking up and not looking good. So we might have a new Kang. That's the hard part. Now, also, we got some really sad news. Even sadder for anyone who's excited for The Boys season 4. It has been delayed. One of the showrunners did mention that The Boys season 4 has been delayed indefinitely. Now, they've wrapped up filming. It's all done. It's ready. I think I'm pretty sure it's like 3/4 ready to go. I think the writer's strike is what has delayed it indefinitely because of this. Now, last year, The Boys season 3 dropped in June or July. We already had the release date for it. Now, this has been between The Boys and season 2 of Invincible, they've had one of the biggest what ifs to me personally, when these were going to be released. Marvel, we kind of knew exactly where they were going to be released, which has come to pass. However, The Boys, no release date, and Invincible season 2, no release date. Now, indefinitely, he said it's been delayed indefinitely, so there is no mention that indefinitely this year, or definitely as in this might be pushed to next year. So, if unfortunately for any of you The Boys fans, I wouldn't hold your breath on this. That's the sad thing. We don't know when this will be coming out. I'm just really hoping that we will still get later this year. Unlike season 2 of Invincible, that is coming out this year at some point. I'm gonna say probably about October, November, because if my memory is right, I think that's when season 1 came out, or it came out in Feb or March, which I really hope that's not the case. But The Boys fans, my condolences. I'm right there with you. I'm gutted like a fish. It just sucks. What can you do? Things are what they are. So, but what do you think, guys? You think give me season 4 now, or look, I'll wait if it's not ready? That's my big thing. Is what do you guys think of that? So that is the biggest. Actually, sorry, there's one little bit of decent news that I haven't mentioned that we did get in the past week. Apparently, Margot Robbie and Adam Driver have passed on the opportunity to play Mr. Fantastic and Mrs. Fantastic, the Invisible Woman in the upcoming Fantastic Four Marvel movie, because, well, the reports is due to money, which I could see that happening. And now currently they're looking for, then they're going on to the next one. So that's up in the air of who they're still looking to. So I have no doubt that Marvel are looking to lock these in before Comic-Con later this year, to at least have that announcement, which I really hope we do. Now, a big thing was like I did see someone say, "Oh, how come Superman Legacy we got the cast, but we haven't got the cast for Fantastic Four?" You gotta remember that with Marvel, the ball is so big. It's such a moving machine, and due to the writer's strike, it's taking things longer, as we've seen with all the delays. So DC is a smaller machine compared to Marvel right now, which once upon a time used to be the other way around, but it's not. So if things keep changing, and obviously where they want a situation type of cast, that's why. So still hold on for it. I'm sure the Fantastic Four cast will eventually. Even if the thing is, this is what I love, is that even if it gets announced, it's not coming out until 2025, 2026 now. So even it's like, oh my God, this is who's going to be your new first family of Fantastic Four. Okay, now I wait. Now I will wait until the movie comes out, because there's no trailer, not at all. So just twiddle my thumbs until it comes out. That's the only thing. So be patient, ladies and gentlemen. Be patient. Now, that is the biggest news that's happened the past week. Now, let's get on to something that did come out this past week. We got the second episode of Marvel's Secret Invasion, which is called Promises. So, as I get into this episode, please definitely let me know what you guys think so far. I think the ratings for it haven't been too crash hot, but everyone I've been speaking to has loved it so far, and like how different it is. So it's interesting to see, the ratings to, like audience reaction to it. So this particular episode picks up right after where we see the first episode with Maria Hill's death. So before I get spoilers, left, right, and center. So we get a flashback of Talos and Nick Fury talking to the Skrulls that have come to Earth for refuge, and the fact that we get a nice CGI of young Samuel L. Jackson, which looked really good, actually. Looked as good as Captain Marvel. Yeah, he is kind of in the shade, kind of in the dark, so you're like, okay, I know why. Where we get to see a young Garrick, yeah, Garrick, where we get to see where Samuel L. Jackson makes the promise saying, you stay low, you look like us, and I'll find your new home world. We get to see that promise, and we get to see when he starts recruiting. So we get that nice little flashback, and then we get to see Samuel L. Jackson, Nick Fury meeting Maria Hill's mother, where they're sending off her body because she died in the last episode, which I'm still gutted by that. I must say, I was not expecting that at all. Like, I was just like, all right, so we're going to get a bit of Nick Fury, Maria Hill through the show. Next thing, nope, she's gone. Gone straight away. Out of this world. Gone. Sadly. Which is sad, because she's one of the original Avengers. So we get to see that Nick Fury does that, has a very intense situation with Maria Hill's mother. Very intense situation with her saying, whatever you're doing, you better make it worthwhile and avenge her death. And he says he will, and we get to see that. We see Garrick have a meeting with the Skrull Council where he gets elected as the new Skrull general, which we get to see in this boardroom. One of them are world leaders, and the UK PM is a Skrull, where he makes he's the new general. He's taken over. He'll be leading the Skrulls' war against Earth, humans. Well, not against Earth. They want to take over Earth. It's against humans. Where one of the Skrulls says no, which has a very small impact. It was like, look, our willingness to go to war is the reason why we had to move, because we were so eager. And she's like, I don't want any part of it. Which Garrick says, I'm not going to kill you. You can go on your way, which she does. Which she speaks to Talos, because Talos wants to have a meeting with Garrick to talk about his daughter, which I do believe will lead to that scene that we have seen in the trailers where he picks up Garak, and then the entire room changes into Garak's right there and there. Now it's a very powerful scene. Now the show is very political. It is very like that. It's almost a smack bang sequel to Winter Soldier. How we're getting all this spy thriller, and I'm loving it. I'm loving the difference of it, and I'm loving the fact that we're getting all this. And the very next thing is we are going to get Loki, which will be the flip, which will be fantastic. I have no doubt. So far the show is going good. So then we do get to see Garak becomes the new council leader. And moving on from that, we do get to see Rhodes and Nick Fury have a very intense conversation as Rhodes has to speak on behalf of America because of what happened with the bombing. And we get a really nice comment where he's like, I'm going to carpet bomb. So they keep looking at me funny. Like, whoa, that's a bit right on the nose right there. So, okay. All rightio. Rhodes, and we get a very intense scene between Rhodes and Nick Fury where Rhodes says, I'm not helping you. I'm not helping you at all. You're insane. This whole idea is insane. A lot of people are speculating if Rhodes is a Skrull. I'm going to say no. Here's my 2 cents. Here's my money. Rhodes is not a Skrull. I think it's more so he's looking at a man who's old, broken. He's got a limp, going, oh, there's people everywhere, and going out like that. And Nick Fury's like, when I'm out, I'm in, which was, I liked it, but I thought that line was a bit corny. I was like, all right, I understand it. Where Rhodes is like, okay, lets him out, lets him go away. Done, dusted. But it's a very intense scene, which then leads us where we see Nick Fury sit on a bench and look like whole world has crumbled. That's it. That's done. We haven't seen the character. Obviously, we haven't had that much limelight. But when you look at this character and then you look at him in Avengers, the first Avengers, like, shit, a lot is happening right now. One's having, a superhero team behind him, and then having S.H.I.E.L.D. behind him, and now no one's backing him up. And his best friend, that always has back, she's been killed. She's dead. And he's having trouble with who to trust. So you see he's very broken into this, which then also leads to, we get to see the interrogation scene where Sonya interrogates one of the Skrulls that was captured in the last episode, which, what an intense interrogation scene. This was brutal. She cut off his finger because she knew he was a Skrull, which you do get to see. Yes, I do. What I do love about Marvel is it doesn't show a lot of blood, even though I carve a finger. He's not pissing out blood at all. There's his finger, which turns green. She injects him with this stuff that makes his blood boil, which he's insanely going intense about. It is a brutal. It could have been worse, Well, actually, yeah, one guy did get killed by the hook of a beef hook in the butcher. So, again, no blood. No blood at all. But we had an intense scene, and then Garak gets his team together to go take in. They have an awesome action sequence. And Gaia, during all this, we get to see the flip is that Gaia follows one of the scientists and finds out they're gathering Hans individuals' blood to, spoiler alert, to make Super Skrulls. Now, history lesson for anyone who doesn't know what a Super Skrull is. Essentially, it's a Skrull, but super in the sense they have all the powers of a superhero. So that was how in the comics they were able to infiltrate the Avengers. So, for example, a Super Skrull could mimic Captain America's powers, having all the super strength and super speed. Or, a Skrull could impersonate Johnny Storm, have all the powers of Johnny Storm, or so on and so forth. You know exactly what I mean, because there is a clip online where you get to see Garak, his arm out, which it looks like he has a Groot arm, which we do get to see on the screen. Is that we get to see Extremis, Groot, and a couple others you did get to see gathering at their blood. This is going to be his answer to find the Avengers. But again, this is like, what are you going to do about the Avengers? There is no Avengers right now. There is no Avengers. They're all scattered right now. So there's no, I don't know how they're going to be like, what happens if Avengers come? There are none. You call the Avengers, who are you going to get? There's no coherent team. I'm sure not anyone has everyone's mobile numbers. The closest person that could do it is Doctor Strange, who could assemble a team, which he's had a rough time with Multiverse of Madness. But Super Skrulls are coming, which is fantastic, which they can fight the heroes. So, again, if we get Super Skrulls, how is Samuel L. Jackson, how is Nick Fury going to fight them? Are the normal Skrulls going to help him? Because it ain't looking good. There will be bloodshed by the end of this season. There's going to be more bloodshed between Skrulls against Skrulls. So that is going to happen. And as soon as I saw that scene with guys found that enhanced blood, I was like, Super Skrulls are coming, which I'm so excited for. Which definitely go Google it in the comics. So we get to see that. So we also, where we flip back to the interrogation scene, we see Sonya pop down the hole and leave the hole because Garrick takes over, gets in there, takes the guy that they interrogated, and as we all predicted, gets lured to the woods, popped off in the background because he said too much, because he told him about the super enhanced Skrulls. Super Skrulls are coming. We're now into Nick Fury. Now this was interesting. So we know it's in the comics, but we haven't seen this before. We see Nick Fury go to this house in the woods. He's about to come in. We see there's a woman there. We see that she's a Skrull. And then he comes in, goes talk to her. She doesn't look too impressed with him because she starts turning to a human form. And he's like, you'll go back and try again. And he's like, oh, okay, I forgot. Puts on his wedding ring and go kisses his wife. It's his wife, Nick Fury's wife. Holy shit. Now I know if you're like, oh, why is that such a big deal? Is the fact that she's a Skrull. Does Nick Fury know his wife is a Skrull? Which I'm going to take a step and say yes, because Nick Fury knows everything. But this just doubles the ante on why it's more becoming Nick Fury's war. Because not only did he break the promise, is Earth in danger, his wife's a Skrull, and it means so much. And then with Talos' wife also being killed by Garrick, and Gaia, like, the whole ante of this just went straight up. And if you haven't already, you need to invest in this show. Watch the first 2 episodes back to back. This is only 6 episode season. And for the very last episode, we do have the wonderful, outstanding guys at Earth 894. They will be joining for the last episode, where we'll dive in and fully break down that last episode. But you gotta tune in now. Flip that switch. I think I said the same thing with Moon Knight. I don't think I said the same thing for Miss Marvel. I think that's Miss Marvel. Yeah, you could leave that one. But this show, if you are the people like Marvel is dead after Endgame, okay, that's fine. Watch it now, because this is a sequel to Captain Marvel and Winter Soldier, and obviously Endgame. So you should be fine with this. So no complaining now, going, oh my god, it's just awful. It's blah blah blah. Shut the hell up and go watch the show right now. That is my tidbit. And please let me know what you guys think. How do you think this is going to end? That's the biggest thing. So obviously next week we have to find out more about Nick Fury's wife out of nowhere. So that is my review of the Secret Invasion's last episode, Promises, where we're going to move into Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny. So, ladies and gentlemen, this is the 5th outing with Harrison Ford as the titular character, with a budget of $300 million. Currently, box office $25 million at the box office. It's made, directed by James Mangold, and also is composed by John Williams. And this is the last movie with John Williams will be scoring ever, because the man is like 85, and he will go down in history is the best composer ever. Just go to Spotify and have a look at everything that's on there that he's made, and you're like, God damn. So this movie, so there was a lot riding on this movie. You know, there was Harrison Ford definitely wanted to come back as the titular character. He's still very agile. He didn't want the movie to be recast. Now, obviously, when Disney bought Lucasfilms, their very first eye was to was to kick off the new Star Wars movie slates and TV shows, which we did get. So Indiana Jones was always on the table, but they wanted to start with Star Wars, which is fair enough. There's a lot more ground with Star Wars compared to Indiana Jones for obvious reasons. Now, when this got announced, we were all very excited, especially with James Mangold directing it, because James Mangold has done some fantastic films, but most recently in a lot of people's minds was Logan, which was outstanding. It was great. So for me, I was looking and going, okay, James Mangold's directing this. It's help writing. I think that was a great pick. Obviously, no George Lucas, no Steven Spielberg. He's going to be the next person taking this role. Was a little bit worried about Harrison Ford playing the character. Yes. Was also a little bit worried about because I didn't really like the Crystal Skull. I was like, will this be below Crystal Skull, same level as Crystal Skull, or will this be better? That was my mindset going into this. Which I do love is that when me and my mates went to go see this film, and it was three of us, and all of our dads came. It was really good. All three of us and all three of our dads all came to this movie because I have this memory with Indiana Jones, which I always love. Is that I remember it was no old TV before you had streaming as a kid, and I remember my old man saying to me, let's watch these, because the channel was watching the channel we always watch TV. They were doing every Sunday. They did an Indiana Jones film, 1, 2, and 3. And my old man, I remember saying, "Hey, look, let's sit down and let's watch this, all three of them." And I loved it. I loved it. I love the first. Oh, actually, I love all 3 Indiana Jones films. It was just action, adventure. It was funny. Big set pieces. The perfect to capture your imagination as a kid. You watch these films and you watch Back to the Future, Jurassic Park, and that same type of vibe. And obviously, you know exactly why. Steven Spielberg had his name on all 3 of them. And it was great. And for years, I didn't even realize that Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom was the prequel. Which, funny enough, I wonder how many people actually knew that when the film originally came out. But that is indeed a prequel. And then we got Indiana Jones 4, which, some of the CGI on it was shit. It didn't really capture, and not a whole people liked it. And I'm pretty sure, I think Shia LaBeouf criticized Steven Spielberg and the production of the whole film, not to mention the whole fridge thing. A lot of people were a bit off about that. So it was a bit riding on this film of how it's going to come out. So the premise of this film is that this is the last ride. This is the swan song. This is the one last adventure with Harrison Ford. Indiana Jones. This is his last time. He's in his 80s. He's this is the end, which we get to see in this movie. We see that he's retiring from teaching. We see he's living in an apartment. It's set in 1969. The sad thing is we see that he's divorced from Marion. We also find out, spoilers. We also find out that his son Mutt died. He went to war, which I really glad that Shia LaBeouf didn't come back for this film, and I'm glad they didn't go with Shia LaBeouf being the next Indiana Jones. I'm pretty sure Harrison Ford would like someone like Chris Hemsworth being the next Indiana Jones than Shia LaBeouf. Which Shia LaBeouf has done not terrible things, but his career is just like gone weird, which we all know. But before we capture up to the character and what his age is now, we get this wonderful set piece at the very start, which has some crispy CGI of de-aging Harrison Ford. Now, this is one of the things I said to one of my mates in the movies, is that even though that was Harrison Ford, he's de-aged to when he was younger. All the fight scenes he's in seem very like it's. I don't know if they do a stunt double, but it was Harrison Ford. Either way, seem very reminiscent of the first three Indiana Jones. And what I mean as a comparison is the Irishman with I just totally forgot his name. Robert De Niro. Robert De Niro was de-aged, but the fight scenes you see in that, he's slower. So you can you're watching go, okay, you're not moving like an agile man of that age. So you can kind of tell. But with Harrison Ford, you could tell straight away he was doing the punching, cracking necks, did really good. And again, we obviously know who the bad guys are, Nazis. Right back to that old chestnut. Now, what we get to see is that we get a great action scene at the very start. This goes back where he's after the Lance of I'm trying to remember the name, Lance of Longmans. I can't pronounce the last one name, and it's this Lance that they're going after. Belongs in a museum. We also get to see Mads Mikkelsen's evil character, which you get to see that he's a scientist. Interesting enough, he has a really great arc actually in this movie. I thought it was very interesting how he came back around, how he stayed in the limelight for this. And Mads Mikkelsen does a fantastic job. So does Harrison for acting all around, positive. And then we get to see an action piece on the train. We also get to see that Mads Mikkelsen is talking to the general, and he's saying Lance is a fake. But I do have this. I have Archimedes' dial, which apparently this dial is only half one piece it can time travel. It can take you somewhere. It can different bits of time. It can go to, but it's only one half. General doesn't give a shit because he's like, who cares about a dial? Like the Fuhrer is not going to give a shit. Which then now we get Andy gets the dial with his mate Shaw, and we get to see where they take it off, and then that's how that fits. Great action set piece. As we keep going, as we get to see, so then we get to see Mr. Harrison Ford, Indiana Jones, in his boxes. In the fact that he's old, which we get shirtless Harrison Ford, which I did see in some person's interview. Someone said he was still hot. He was still hot at his age. I was like, what a weird thing to do at an interview conference. Say, hey, your shirt was off. It's still delicious. I just wanted to let you know that you are. Okay. But yeah, someone said he still looks hot in his boxes. But yeah, and we get to see it's based in 1969. We find out, he's divorced. We get to see he's retired. But then as he retires, we get to see that it's kind of when he's talking to his class, which I really did love. He was excited, the dial, history, blah, blah. His students couldn't give a shit. Next thing, someone rolls in about the astronauts landing on the moon, and they're more excited about that. So you do get that feeling he's a relic of an old time. No one gives a shit about archaeology. It's all about, landing on the moon. Almost very reminiscent of Toy Story 2, when boom, an astronaut went up to space. No one gave a shit about, cowboys anymore. And something, almost the same thing. No one gave a shit about archaeology. Is all about space, where you can go to next. So the next thing is we get to see that Shaw Mads Mikkelsen's character he helped America land on the moon. He's a scientist who's helped them. So that's what he's been working on in the background. And this time, but he's still after the dial. And they're following Helena Shaw's daughter, where she meets up with Indiana Jones. Meets up with Indy and talks about it. She read all of his books. You find out that Indy and Shaw had a bit of a falling out because he became obsessed with the dial. So Indy took the dial off him, and he was promised to destroy it, which you find out that he didn't destroy it because he couldn't, because it's an artifact. It goes against everything Indy's based on. So that leads into a action set piece between Helena taking the dial, Indy framed for murder because Mads Mikkelsen's character kills all these people, kills half of his staff, half of Indy's staff he just celebrated with saying retiring. About 4 or 5 of them die. And I was like, oh. So really, at the end, in between this movie, if you're friends with Indiana Jones, you're going to die. You're going to die. Like, a couple more friends of Indy dies in this movie, so it's really don't be too close to the man. So it leads into a great action set piece with Harrison Ford riding on a horse in a subway, which then leads him to going overseas, which we do get to see the set piece at the hotel. Because we find out that she wants to sell the dial because of the fact that she is in debt with the mob. She actually doesn't want to find the rest of the half and go and lead to follow her father's work. Which again leads into a nice action set piece, which is a chase scene, which is synonymous with Indiana Jones films. We have a great chase scene. Soundtrack is really good. And all through it, again, CGI still and holding up. I didn't find any jarring moments, which I really did like. In this day and age, I don't know if it could be because I just saw the Flash that I'm just a bit like, oh, this is bad. So when I see good CGI, I'm like, hey, that's pretty good. So it's a little bit of difference, and I guess Indiana Jones is a lot like Lucasfilm, a lot of design studio compared to DC. So we get to see the fantastic chase scene, which was done really well. Which then leads into an underwater scene as they go try and find the second half of the dial with Mads Mikkelsen characters following them all the way. Still back and forth. Again, one of Indy's friends dies, which is Antonio Banderas. He is really not in this film very long. Very short. Very, very short that he's in this film. Which also leads into them going to Archimedes' grave. Which, when they find his grave, they find out, oh, okay, there's carvings of what looks like a plane or a helicopter. And then when they look at Archimedes' grave, he's got a watch. And they're like, hang on, he can't have these things. Where would he notice? Oh, I guess the dial did work. Which then Mads Mikkelsen catches up, gets the other half of the dial, shoots Indiana Jones, which, to be honest, for the next 40 minutes of the film, Indy should have died and bled out. But that's the fun part of these movies that he does it, because he got shot in the shoulder and he's like buggered. I'm like, you probably should have bled out or something. Which we find out that Mads Mikkelsen wants to steal the dial to go back and right the wrongs of World War II and to let Nazis win. And they actually do go back in time, which I was watching and I did think it's like time travel Indiana Jones. I was like, well, hang on. I'm like, nah, that's not out of the realm of what Indiana Jones could do. Like, it's not that far-fetched. Because let's be honest, like he found the Ark of the Covenant, which melted people's brains and technically ghosts. He also found the Holy Grail, which saved his dying father from a gunshot and himself. And he found a crystal skull, which was aliens. So I'm like, you know what? Time travel, I'll accept it. It's not like, oh, it's too far-fetched. Like, yeah, you can accept it. which they do go back in time, which is they sure Mads Mikkelsen's character's plans were completely wrong. They went too far back in time. They actually go to when Archimedes was alive, which explains why they had the engravings of the helicopter plane, and why he had the watch. It all explains it. And we get this really nice moment where Indy says, like, I want to stay back in time. I want to stay here, which to me, I would accept it. It would make perfect sense if he stayed back in time, like, and lived history. It would have, I've been like, okay, that's how he dies. But Helena is like, nah, you're coming with me. Punches him in the face, like, nah, you're coming with me. We're going back, which we do see him go back. He wakes up in his apartment, and we do get to see what she says to him, like, why? She's like, I need you to be here. There's other people who need you. And then Miriam walks in. They have a nice moment together, and it's really beautiful. And another thing is that Helena does ask a little bit further back, was like, what would you go back and change? Which he did say, he's like, I would go back and stop myself arguing with my son for him to go off to war and dying, and my wife can't get over it, and we divorce, which is really sad. Which is yes, yeah, 100%, a little bit. So very well, yeah. MCU, almost, yeah. MCU Endgame ending. That is same thing. You almost just need the music. Almost need the music for it to go into, but that's pretty much, yeah. That's exactly right. How they could all go with beautiful ending. But yeah, so overall, this movie gave you that sense of adventure. It's a great swan song ending. It is great to see these characters back. At the end of it, I was a bit like, okay, the action was good, the CGI was good. It is almost, which is in Indiana Jones, it's almost one long trailer. The ball's always, Boulder is always moving in this film, which it does wrap up him very nicely. I would probably go back to this film before Indiana Jones 4. I probably would go straight from Indiana Jones 3 to 4. I feel like almost 5 is a better sequel to number 3 because of all the returning characters. Obviously, it doesn't mention his father because we do know in number 4 he's passed away. But it's almost a better sequel than I would say number 4 is. So I would highly recommend go check out this film. Don't have your expectations too high. Did feel like could have been shorter a little bit. Is your hero a bit older? Yes. Legacy sequels. Don't have your expectations too high. If you just keep it in the mid-tier, I think you'd be very satisfied with the whole thing. And it will obviously be on Disney Plus in a few months. So definitely go check that out. And you have the entire quadrilogy. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, all on Disney Plus, which currently all 4 films are currently streaming right now. Now, yes, that is now with that done. Obviously, now we do know there is an Indiana Jones video game that's coming out on Xbox. But this is the one thing that we need to accept, ladies and gentlemen, is that the next time we have an Indiana Jones film, is that there will be a new Indiana Jones. There will be a new one. I think unless they do a prequel, expand on the very first little half that we got from Indiana Jones 3 at the beginning, where he was a kid leading up to everything, unless you expand that more. But then again, if you do know that Indiana Jones, if you do make a prequel, do you make him go back to find the Ark of the Covenant, the Holy Grail, the Temple of Doom? Do you do all that, or do you find a new set of adventure for him, which you're going to have to? And there'll be new people. There'll be someone new. Hopefully not Chris Pratt. My thing is, if they make another Indiana Jones and they do a completely reboot, I want a very young actor to grow into the role. The same thing about how Harrison Ford was when he took up the role. That's kind of the same age. Someone who can really grow into it. But yeah, Indiana Jones. Three Little Pigs, female lead. Now, the only thing I would say no to a female leading Indiana Jones, or it would be is because technically that's Tomb Raider. Tomb Raider is really fit the female version of Indiana Jones, which Tomb Raider, we are getting a brand new TV show, which I think is going to be on Amazon. But yeah, I would say that's if you want to watch a female Indiana Jones, just watch Tomb Raider. That's which currently right now there's 3 Tomb Raider movies. 1, 2 with Angelina Jolie, and the third one I can't remember who it is, but that's I would take that. Yes, this is 3 little. I would take Indiana Jones, Tomb Raider, Multiverse, both of them sold. Take my money. That would be an awesome, especially like both of them trying to get the same like MacGuffin. For anyone who doesn't know MacGuffin, it's exactly for people who do. It's like we need to get this part to go to this. For a perfect example, Transformers, the Spark, Avengers, the Tesseract, the MacGuffin, the part that the evil person's trying to get to take over the world. Same thing, but male Tomb Raider and female Indiana Jones. But then I guess that wouldn't that just mean that Indiana Jones is wouldn't that just be just a flip? But right now, everyone getting recasted. You never know what could happen, especially with Disney, which we all know what I'm talking about. But yeah, Indiana Jones and Dial of Destiny, 3 out of 5 stars, ladies and gentlemen. So, but definitely tell me in the comments, what did you think of the movie? Do you want to see a sequel, or you're like, do you want to see a reboot? You're like, nah, let's leave for a good 20 years. Same thing they did last time with a sequel. So for everybody, thank you very much for tuning in for this episode. Thank you very much for everyone coming past in the live. And as always, until next time, happy ranting.
Thanks for listening to Light, Camera, Rant. If you like the show, don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss a single episode. While you're at it, leave us a rating and review, and be sure to tell your friends. Until next time.